This is AHSAA Weekly, an inside look at the Alabama High School Athletic Association. I'm John Holder. Coming up on this week's show, we're going to talk with Coach Willie Spears from Bullitt County High School in Union Springs. We'll also be talking with a father-son duo in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star Classic. We're talking about Johnny and Trent Howard from Briarwood Christian School in Birmingham. Also tonight, a ton of AHSAA news with staff members. We will talk with Denise Ainsworth. Also tonight, we'll talk with the newest member of the Alabama High School Athletic Association staff, Ken Washington, and we'll check in on Instant Replay with Director of Officials Mark Jones. It's all coming up tonight on the AHSAA Weekly.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your TV home for high school sports in Alabama. This Thursday on WOTM, catch the AHSAA High School Football Game of the Week, presented by Ox Foundations. This week's matchup will feature the Thorsby Rebels versus the Fayetteville Wolves. Stay with WOTM through the postseason for live games all 4 weeks of the playoffs. WOTM, the home of AHSAA Super 7, live from Jordan Hare.
What's lurking under your home? Moisture and unsafe air from your crawl space can infiltrate your home, causing health hazards and high utility bills. Ox Foundation Solutions will help you with the best plan to keep your home safe. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
There's a unique promotion going on with the football team at Bullitt County High School in Union Springs. Our very own Michael Giddens caught up with the head football coach of the Hornets, Coach Willie Spears.
And we're joined by Coach Willie Spears of Bullitt County High School out of Union Springs, Alabama. Coach Spears, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's a great time to be a Hornet. We're honored to be on the show.
Coach, you've started out with a strong 3-3 record this year. And if you win the next 2 region games, you lock in your spot in the playoffs. The first time in the school's history that Bullitt County has ever made the playoffs. Coach, can you just talk about the season in general so far, how it's gone, and some of your impact players, some of your difference makers on the team that have gotten you to this point?
Well, it's truly an honor to be in this position. You never know what's going to happen. You got to take one game at a time. Kamal Lewis plays linebacker for us. He led our team in tackles last year. He's one homecoming king already. We call him King Louie. He's just an exceptional young man who happens to be a great linebacker for us. We're honored to have him be a part of our team. On the offensive side of the ball, his brother, Cam Lewis, plays offensive guard and tackle. He's great, along with Jacarius Robbins on the offensive line. And so we're really, really excited about the things going on in Bullitt County. As you said, we've never made the playoffs. It looks as if it may be possible this year. We were close last year. It didn't happen. And I tell you, we started off rough. We played a great Pike Road team who's still undefeated, a great St. James team who has only 1 loss, and a great Reeltown team who's still undefeated. So we started out the gate with some tough opponents. We didn't lose the kids. They believed in what we're doing. And if we could keep getting better each week, we can make history, and we're excited about the opportunity.
Coach, when you took over this program, there was work to do to build enthusiasm to get the fan support that you needed, but you went 5-5 last year, and you've got an opportunity here to make the playoffs. Can you just talk about, is the fan support really coming along? Are they starting to believe in Bullitt County and Union Springs, and how does that impact the players?
One thing about Bullitt County, they love their athletics. I mean, they do not know how to say no. Whatever we ask for in the community, the answer is yes. We need help with laundry detergent. No problem, Coach. We need help with this. No problem, Coach. So the community is one of the best I've ever been a part of, and I've worked in a lot of different communities. The biggest impact that we've been able to have is working with the people in the community. And so that's easy for me. I have a lot of energy. I told him in the interview, I don't know how well I can coach, but I could definitely help with enthusiasm and school pride. And that's what they were looking for. So the community's been great. They're behind us, win, lose, or draw. There's one guy in the community named Red Cooper. He said to me, Coach, I was here for 4 seasons when we didn't win a game. I'm definitely going to be here when we win a few. And so it's great to have a one-horse town where we're one team, one mascot, one goal, and that's to play well together. So it's really fun, it's exciting, and hopefully we can make history this year.
Coach, you got an opportunity to make a lot of history. This upcoming Friday, you're hosting Prattville Christian for your homecoming, and I hear there's a special promotion of sorts that you've got planned for this homecoming game. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. We've had a lot of great coaches that come through Bullitt County, and I'm just one of the guys that's happened to be over the program right now. And with that, you have your Monday morning armchair quarterback. We have a sports show that we do on Facebook, and when people call in with these suggestions, and someone suggested they want a coach. And I said, guys, it's not as easy as it looks. You know, you watch games on Saturday and you say, well, they should have ran that and they should have ran this, and the same thing on Sunday. And so what we did, we asked our community to nominate people who you think would be a great coach for a week. And we've had a lot of interest. I'm talking about politicians to people who work at the chicken house, the chicken factory, to people who work at the local restaurants and the gas stations and everybody in between. And we got a winner. We got a man who's really excited. We have film today at 3:30. He told me he will be there early with his pen and pad. So I hope he doesn't take my job, but we're excited to announce that Fred Youngblood, who lives in Chino Hills, California, is actually in town for homecoming. He has won our Coach of the Week, and I'm excited to work with him. Hopefully he can teach me a few things and help us get this win this week.
Yes, sir. It sounds like an exciting time for Coach Youngblood. He's going to be able to have a pregame meal and a T-shirt and stand on the sidelines. But I got a question, Coach. What happens when you want to run the ball and he says, we're going to run a double flea flicker reverse pass for a touchdown here? What's going to happen then?
Well, I tell him to get in line with the rest of our assistant coaches that want to do the exact same thing. We're going to put him over kickoff return, and we hope we don't have too many kickoff returns, and we hope the other team kicks the ball in the end zone. But he's going to be over kickoff return. That's going to be his wheelhouse as far as decision making. We will listen to him and give him all the amenities and responsibility of assistant coach, but he won't be calling the offensive, defensive plays. And I'm glad, because I barely know what I'm doing. I don't want him to mess anything up. It's a big region game ahead of us.
Well, Coach, when Mr. Youngblood's career springs forward and he becomes a successful head coach, you can say that he started under you and he came from your tree.
That's true, and I'll tell you this, there's a guy in town in Montgomery named Pastor Matheson. He's been around for a long time. He coached Alabama State for one scrimmage game, and he tells everybody he's the winningest coach in Alabama State history because he's 1-0 in a black and gold game, and maybe Fred Youngblood can do the same thing.
It sounds like just a fantastic idea that you've come up with for this homecoming, this promotion, and I got to say it's a great idea to get the community involved and really want to come out for extra reasons than just to see the team play. So just a fantastic idea, and Coach, it's been great having you on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And if you don't have a game to go to, our homecoming is spectacular. October 11th is going to be something you want to be a part of. The community comes from all over the country. They come home to celebrate the Hornets. I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you so much, Michael.
That was Coach Willie Spears of Bullitt County High School out of Union Springs. Back to you, John.
We've got a special treat for you now. The Alabama-Mississippi All-Star Classic is coming up at the University of Southern Mississippi in December. We announced the team here last week, but we've really got a special treat for you. As I said, we've got a father-son combination that actually the father played in the game, and now the son's on his way to play in this year's game. Johnny Howard, he played in the game for Jess Lanier back in 1987. And then, of course, now his son, Trent Howard at Briarwood Christian in Birmingham, selected to play on this year's team. Only the third father-son team in history on the Alabama side to play in this. You may have heard a couple of these guys, Bo and Patrick Nix. That's one of the combinations. And also Danny Woodson and his son, Danny Woodson Jr., also to play. So you're in rare company. Guys, welcome in. Glad to have you with us.
Sir, thank you for having us.
Johnny, what was it like coming out of Jess Lanier, playing for the Purple Tigers over in Bessemer, and being selected to play in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star Classic back in '87?
Well, it was really a treat back then because it was the very first time that they had brought back the game. It was the first Alabama-Mississippi All-Star Classic, and a couple of had a teammate, George Wilson, get an opportunity to go with me, and we practiced back in June, and Coach Higginbotham was our coach. But it was a great honor because it was the first one, and it was just a chance to compete against a neighboring state.
Alabama won that game 24-21, and I think 3 overtimes was the game there. Maybe it won't be this close this time. Maybe Alabama will take Mississippi out, and this guy will have a lot to do with that. What does it mean, before we go over to Trent, Johnny, what's it mean to have your son be playing in the same All-Star game that you played in, and you played in the very first one, as you said?
Well, I think it's great. I think it's really just a testament to the work he's put in. He knew that it was something that I had played in, several of my friends had played in, and I think he kind of had set his sights to that. But just to get an opportunity to represent Briarwood and the state, I'm really proud of him on and off the field.
Trent, let's talk the same thing here. Now, your dad helps out coaching the offensive line at Briarwood, so he coaches you up out there every day. What's it mean to not only play for him and then also to be playing in the All-Star game that he also played in some 30 years later?
I think it's a special treat just to be honored to play in it and get to represent Briarwood. But knowing that my dad has played in it too, and it's just kind of an edge too that you get. It's kind of unique, I think, because that doesn't happen very often. You get to play in the same game that your dad played in. So,
does he tell you a lot of the war stories from back in his days at Jess Lanier, the high school days?
Well, he talks about how easy we have it nowadays, and it was nothing compared to back in the day. But I think that's every father-son duo that gets to play the great game of football. So.
Of course, your dad went on and played at the University of Alabama, offensive lineman down there on some great teams, played on a couple of SEC title teams in '89 and '92, national championship team in '92. I'm sure he tells you a lot of stories about those days at the University of Alabama.
Yes, sir. Getting to hear about the national championship game is always a good story to hear, and then really just about his teammates and the bond that they had and going in and playing games. I think every football life like that's just good to hear about. So.
What kind of advice has he given you? What's he taught you? Maybe not only on the field as far as the skills to be an offensive lineman, but off the field as well. What kind of piece of advice has he given you?
Well, on the field, obviously, technique-wise, I feel like I've always been ahead of everybody just because of having a bond with my dad and being out there coaching. But off the field, so much more just about being a man and especially using football as a way to teach it too sometimes, about how things work out in life. And then, of course, being an offensive lineman, all the glory is always the quarterbacks and running backs and all. And sometimes you put in all the work and, you don't get the glory for it and all. I think that's an important thing that I've learned over the years. So.
A question for both of you. Obviously, you just came after practice, getting ready for Friday night football. How much translates off the field to like the dinner table, or you're sitting around the house, maybe watching games on Saturday? How much of the play from the Friday night and from the practices during the week? How much does that come into the home life?
Not as much as you would think, like technique-wise, but just watching football and just talking about football in general is always a thing. I think just having the passion for the game that we both do, it's kind of hard not to spend some time talking about it all the time.
It spills over at the dinner table, but I've got a younger son that's 14, and my wife is obviously a big part of it. If we're watching huddles, she'll sometimes jump in, ask a question or something. But as a whole, we really try to do a great job of keeping it separated. Well,
guys, congratulations. As we said, rare company, only the third father-son combination in 32 years or so of the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star Classic. This will actually be the 33rd one coming up, and quite an accomplishment. Congratulations on being selected. We'll see you down at Southern Mississippi in December.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, Johnny Howard, Trent Howard, our guest here on the AHSAA Weekly. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Don't crack under the pressure of foundation issues. The certified specialists at Ox Foundation Solutions can permanently fix foundation problems at the best price guaranteed. And did you know, moisture and unsafe air from your crawl space can infiltrate your home, causing health hazards and high utility bills. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your TV home for high school sports in Alabama. This Thursday on WOTM, catch the AHSAA High School Football Game of the Week, presented by Ox Foundations. This week's matchup will feature the Thorsby Rebels versus the Fayetteville Wolves. Stay with WOTM through the postseason for live games all 4 weeks of the playoffs. WOTM, the home of AHSAA Super 7, live from Jordan Hare.
We're back on the AHSAA Weekly, taking you to the AHSAA offices in Montgomery. We are going to meet the newest member of the executive staff of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. Pleased to be joined at this time by Ken Washington. Ken, glad to have you with us on this week's program.
Thanks for having me, John.
Ken, just tell us about how you came to come on board staff with Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Well, the director, Mark Jones, was decided that he was going to retire, and made the decision to interview for the position. And during that interview process, for whatever reason, he decided that he wasn't going to retire. And I got a call back from our executive director, Steve Savarese, saying that Mark had unresigned and he was going to stay in the position. And he offered me an opportunity with the assistant director position, and I happily accepted.
Your credentials are impeccable. You have officiated the highest levels of officiating, including major college basketball and the NBA. Tell us about those experiences.
Well, when I was making the decision to be an official, at the time it was just an opportunity to make a little money and still be a part of the game. And also I was coaching at that time at Jacksonville High School. I was doing junior high. And I was officiating a 7th to 8th grade tournament, and Mark Jones at the time was the assigner, and he was there and he was observing officials. And after the game, he pulled me to the side and just told me I was probably going to be a pretty good coach, and if I decided to be official, he thought I can go as far as I wanted to go. And I took his advice, and I decided to go full force at it. I went out and bought camcorder from the pawn shop. At the time, I think I paid about $50, $75, and I would take that camera to the games, and I'll pay a kid $10 for that. And that year, I think I refereed 101 high school games, which is crazy. I had all kind of support. At the time, I was just officiating. I really wanted to pursue it, and he would help me break down my game films, and that's kind of how I got started. But as far as going to the NBA, that's a story all within itself. I had just completed my 2nd year of officiating, and Atlanta had a tryout for officials. The NBA was there. So I paid my $500 to go out there and learn, and you had all kind of officials out there, from the SEC to the ACC, and everybody was trying to get to the NBA at the time. And at that particular time, I only had been officiating 2 years of high school basketball. I hadn't done any college. So, and I went out and just did my best. And probably about a month later, I get a phone call from the director of officials for the development league. And he calls me and invited me out to referee the Utah Jazz and San Antonio Spurs in Utah. And I thought he had lost his mind, or he got me mixed up with somebody else. So I get out there, there's 12 people out there. It's very intimate setting. And everybody was going around and kind of introducing themselves and giving their experience. And I was like, I just completed my 2nd year of high school in Alabama. And so you can only imagine all the eyes on me, because they were thinking, I'm gonna have to take care of this kid. And after my first game, the director of officials from, the person that was in between at the time as for development, Joe Borgia, who worked a good bit with the NBA, he gave me an interview, just asked me a bunch of questions while I was watching the game. And probably 30 days after that, he brings me on staff. And 2nd year in the NBA program, kid from Alabama, only have done high school. And now I had the opportunity to referee some of the best players in the world.
Ken, that's an awesome story, and we are really glad to have you a part of the Alabama High School Athletic Association executive staff. I know our fans and our athletes and our coaches around the state are going to be excited to see you throughout the year coming out to their events. Thank you for joining us here on the AHSAA Weekly.
All right, thank you.
Ken Washington, the newest member of the staff, Assistant Director of Officiating for the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Welcome back to the AHSAA Weekly. We are joined at this time in Montgomery by Assistant Director for the Alabama High School Athletic Association. She wears a lot of hats. One of those, though, for this time of year is volleyball. She is kind of in charge of the volleyball program for the state of Alabama and the Alabama High School Athletic Association. Of course, we're talking about Denise Ainsworth. Denise, glad to have you with us this week on the AHSAA Weekly.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this new TV show with AHSAA and appreciate all of your hard work.
Well, we're excited to have you with us. Obviously, we're going to talk volleyball. We are in the middle of the season. We've crowned our first state champions of all the sports in the Athletic Association in volleyball. So the volleyball state championships are coming up. Kind of take us through the timeline of how the playoffs work and what's going to happen with the championships in volleyball.
Well, volleyball is set up a little bit similar to basketball. There's an area tournament, and then the top two advance to the super regionals. Super regionals is kind of a new concept to our sports, but we bring in 102 teams to Montgomery and 102 teams to Huntsville, and we have a 3-day tournament, and the top two teams advance, and we have what's called the Elite Eight that go to state, and then they'll play a single elimination tournament at state, and we'll crown 7 champions.
And give us a timeline of when all this is going to happen. This is all pretty much happening in the next month, is that right?
It is. It will all climax on October the 31st. Our area tournaments will begin October the 21st and 22nd, and then the regionals are the following weekend, October the 24th through the 26th. And then state will be October 30th and 31st.
This has already been an incredible year for volleyball. A couple of big milestones. We had Coach Schilling down at Bayside Academy in Daphne, 1,500 wins. Julie Gordon at Montgomery Academy, 1,400 wins. They achieved those milestones this year. I think that kind of speaks to how good volleyball is here in the state of Alabama. Talk about those achievements and kind of the overall state of volleyball in Alabama.
We're very proud of our volleyball in the state of Alabama. We have outstanding coaches and outstanding players. We have great crowds at our state championship. Obviously, our coaches love what they do by their longevity at the schools that they've been at and the number of games they've won. So we're very proud of the product that volleyball produces in the state of Alabama.
Absolutely. Denise, thank you so much for joining us here on AHSAA Weekly. It's going to be an exciting 3 weeks coming up as we crown state champions in volleyball. Ought to be a lot of fun as we count down the road down to Birmingham.
Thank you, John. Look forward and hope we see everybody out at a volleyball game sometime in the next 3 weeks.
Denise Ainsworth is Assistant Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association, our guest here on the AHSAA Weekly. We'll be back with more of the program in just a moment.
WOTM, your TV home for high school sports in Alabama. This Thursday on WOTM, catch the AHSAA High School Football Game of the Week, presented by Ox Foundations. This week's matchup will feature the Thorsby Rebels versus the Fayetteville Wolves. Stay with WOTM through the postseason for live games all 4 weeks of the playoffs. WOTM, the home of AHSAA Super 7, live from Jordan Hare.
And we're back on the AHSAA Weekly. And at this time, we're going to take you to Montgomery, where we have the Director of Officials for the Alabama High School Athletic Association, Mark Jones, joining us. Mark, good evening and welcome in. Glad to have you with us on the show.
Thank you, John. I'm glad to be here, and always good to visit with you. And I appreciate all you do for high school sports across the state.
Mark, thank you very much. We're going to jump in and talk about instant replay. And of course, we're now in the second year of instant replay. Just tell us about the overall concept of instant replay in high schools here with Alabama High School Athletic Associations pertaining to high school football.
Okay, well, one of the reasons that we wanted to do instant replay in Alabama is when the rules changed in 2013 to allow coaches to have video on the sideline. So they're able to review the plays then, and it put the officials at a bad disadvantage because they were able to see calls that were missed and we couldn't do anything about it. So Coach Savarese and Greg Brewer started studying instant replay and going to the National Federation to try and get an experiment and collecting data. And last year, we were able to get the experiment, and so last year was our first year, and it went really well, and we're in our second year of the experiment this year. And the National Federation this past year in the rules adopted instant replay by rule for postseason play. Our state and New Jersey are the only two states that are continuing to experiment with instant replay during the regular season.
Mark, for folks who don't know, you're partnering with DV Sport. And for folks that may not know who DV Sport is, tell folks exactly who these folks are. They kind of know what they're doing when it comes to instant replay, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. DV Sport is a leader in instant replay across the country in not only football, but in all sports. They're at all the national championships on every level, and that's their expertise, is instant replay. Those pylon cams that you see and everything, all that was DV Sport. And so we were fortunate enough to partner up with DV Sport for our instant replay, and that's who we require our schools to use for the instant replay. And the real luxury of it is when we play at Alabama and Auburn in our state championships, we're able to utilize the same equipment that they use for the SEC in those stadiums on the Saturdays. And that is outstanding equipment, and with the TV usage that we get for many more different angles, it really provides a much better quality instant replay. But even then, on the regular games in the regular season, what we have with the cameras that the schools have has been more than sufficient to get us some good replays and overturn some calls that we would have missed and possibly been all over YouTube the following Monday, and people talking about the missed calls, whereas we have the opportunity to get them correct now.
Mark, great information about instant replay. It's been a success with Alabama High School Athletic Association. Now, as many things do, spreading from us to other states around the Southeast and around the country. Thank you for the job you do as director officials with the Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Thank you, John. And again, I appreciate all you do for high school sports in Alabama. You are really great at what you do.
Appreciate it, Mark. Mark Jones, Director of Officials with the AHSAA. We'll be back with more of AHSAA Weekly in just a moment.
Don't crack under the pressure of foundation issues. The certified specialists at Ox Foundation Solutions can permanently fix foundation problems at the best price, guaranteed. If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Time for this week's WOTM Play of the Week. It comes from our Game of the Week last week, which was Hoover and Tuscaloosa County in Northport. Here's Tommy Wood and Rick Rhodes on the call.
Get a chance to come back, and here comes the blitz. They find it to Taylor. Taylor's got a gap. Taylor's got running room. He busted open. Midfield, 45. Taylor comes to the middle of the field. He breaks two tackles, and he will take it inside the 15-10 and go into the end zone. That's the way you turn it around.
Wow.
With an impressive run by Damian Taylor. Wow, what a run.
You live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. And that time Hoover brought both linebackers into the A gap. But what's going to happen is that ball is going to go into the A gap on the other side. And you can see why this guy had 228 yards 2 weeks ago. Look at that move right there. I don't even know how to describe that one, Tommy.
Yeah, I don't know. You got Chapman trying to get him up high, and he just shakes loose.
Wrapping up this week's edition of AHSAA Weekly, we always close the show highlighting some of the big events that are taking place with the Alabama High School Athletic Association statewide. And you'll see a lot of great games coming up all across the state of Alabama. Great events as we close out this week's edition of the AHSAA Weekly. We'll see you back here next week.